There is something in the small details that most people walk right past without a second thought. Subtle shifts in behavior, quiet changes in energy, gestures that appear ordinary on the surface, but carry something entirely different underneath. And when you learn to read them, when you actually slow down enough to pay attention, they tell you things that words never will. Today we are talking about 7 signs that a woman has not been intimate with a man for a long time. Not in a superficial or reductive way. From the perspective of genuine human psychology, understanding what actually happens to a person's energy, behavior, and emotional communication when a fundamental human need has gone unmet for an extended period. Because these signs are real. They are rooted in how human beings actually function. And once you understand them, you'll start seeing interactions with women in a completely different light. The first sign is in her body language, and her body is more honest than her words will ever be. When a woman has not experienced physical intimacy for some time, her body begins expressing what her words are carefully holding back. Not in an obvious way, not dramatically. In the quiet, almost invisible ways that most men simply do not know how to read. She leans toward you slightly during conversation, closer than the social situation strictly requires. She maintains eye contact a moment longer than feels purely casual. She touches her hair repeatedly, not once and then moves on, but returning to it again and again in a way that feels driven by something internal. These are not conscious decisions. They are neurological responses. When attraction and unmet desire exist simultaneously in the body, nervous energy builds and has to go somewhere. It travels to the hair, the lips, the neck, the places the body instinctively draws attention to when it is trying to communicate something the mind has not yet given permission to say out loud. Watch for the pattern, not the single gesture. One touch means little. A repeated, unconscious return to it across multiple moments tells an entirely different story. The second sign is a shift in her humor, specifically toward the playful and the provocative. When a woman has been without intimacy for a while, her humor often begins to carry a slightly different edge. Comments that would previously have stayed entirely innocent start carrying a second meaning. Jokes that brush against more personal territory appear in conversations that were previously surface level. And she delivers these lightly, always with a laugh. Always with enough casual distance that if you do not pick up on it, she can simply move on as though it was nothing more than a joke. This is not accidental. Playful humor with a provocative edge is one of the ways women test the water, checking whether you can hold that kind of energy with warmth and confidence rather than awkwardness. She is not revealing everything. She is opening the door slightly and waiting to see whether you are bold enough to step toward it. Pay attention to when and how the tone of her humor shifts. It is rarely as casual as it appears. The third sign is an increase in her need for physical closeness and affection. Human beings are wired for touch. When that need goes unmet for an extended period, the body begins seeking it in smaller, more socially available ways. A hug that lasts fractionally longer than the situation required. A hand on your arm during conversation that lingers slightly beyond the moment. A tendency to sit or stand closer to you than the physical space demands. These gestures are not always fully conscious. In many cases, the woman herself is not aware she is doing them. Her body is simply responding to an absence, reaching for warmth and closeness in the ways available to it. What is important to understand is that this is not necessarily a direct romantic invitation. It is a deeply human response to the absence of genuine connection. When you notice these gestures, the right response is warmth rather than assumption. Genuine presence. Because what she often needs first, before anything else, is to feel genuinely safe. And safety is what makes everything else possible. The fourth sign is a shift in the depth and direction of her conversation. Pay attention to what she talks about and how personally she is willing to go. When a woman has been without genuine intimacy for some time, her conversations often begin moving in a more vulnerable direction without her fully intending it. She starts referencing her past relationships. She mentions how long it has been since she felt truly connected to someone. She says things that seem offhand, delivered with a smile, sometimes even framed as a joke, but that carry real emotional weight underneath. These are not casual observations. They are windows. She is letting you see something she does not show everyone, the part of her that has been quietly carrying the weight of that absence. And how you respond in these moments matters enormously. Do not rush past it. Do not immediately try to fix it or redirect the conversation towards something lighter. Simply listen. Be fully present with what she is actually sharing. Because what she needs most in that moment is not advice. It is to feel genuinely heard by someone who cares what is beneath the words. The fifth sign is a quiet, subtle jealousy that she almost never names directly, that it will not be dramatic. It will not be a confrontation. It will be a fractional pause when you mention another woman. A comment delivered with a light laugh that carries just slightly more edge than the situation warranted, a subtle shift in her energy when your attention moves somewhere else. Nothing she would ever openly acknowledge, but something you can feel if you're paying close attention. This quiet jealousy is not possessiveness. It is something more honest than that. It is the surface expression of a desire she has been keeping contained, a small involuntary signal that she wants to be the one holding your focus. When someone has been without genuine connection for a long time, the idea of that connection going somewhere else, even hypothetically, even casually, stirs something that has been simmering beneath the surface. Notice it, and respond by making her feel that your attention in this moment is already exactly where she was hoping it would be. The sixth sign is that she begins creating opportunities for the two of you to be alone together, not always obviously. Often through suggestions that appear completely natural, a quieter plan rather than a group setting, something one-on-one rather than surrounded by other people. She is not necessarily executing a deliberate strategy. She is following an instinct that tells her whatever connection is developing between you has more room to breathe in a private space than in a crowd. When a woman has been without intimacy for some time, the desire for genuine one-on-one closeness grows. She gravitates toward the conditions where that closeness is most naturally possible. If you notice that she consistently steers shared plans toward more intimate, quieter settings, that is not simply a preference. That is intention, even when she herself has not fully articulated it yet. She is creating space for something real to develop. The question is whether you are paying enough attention to recognize what she is actually offering. The seventh sign is that her flirting becomes consistent, a constant undercurrent rather than an occasional moment. There is a clear difference between a woman who flirts occasionally and a woman whose entire dynamic with you carries a steady, persistent charge that never quite disappears. When a woman has been without intimacy for a significant period, that second kind of flirting often emerges, not because she planned it, but because the desire building inside her needs somewhere to go. Every conversation starts carrying a slightly different energy. Comments develop double meanings. Eye contact holds a fraction longer. Laughter comes more easily, more warmly. And there is a continuous push and pull between you that never fully resolves but never completely disappears either. This kind of sustained flirting is not performance. It is communication. It is her way of keeping the door open, of signaling something without having to say it directly, of seeing whether you are willing to step into the space she is quietly creating. The key is not to rush it. The tension she is building is intentional. She wants to know that you can hold this dynamic with her, that you can remain in it without fumbling or forcing. Patience here is not passivity. It is its own form of confidence. And confidence, the quiet, unhurried kind, is exactly what she has been looking for. Here is what connects all 7 of these signs at the deepest level. Not one of them is communicated with words. Every single one operates beneath the surface of ordinary conversation, in the layer where people communicate what they cannot yet bring themselves to say directly. That is precisely why most men walk past them completely. We are taught to listen to what people say. But the body, the energy, the pattern of small behaviors, those speak first. And they speak the truth. Learn to listen at that level, and everything changes.